Hey, David here. Just want to give a quick talk, a little bit about me, about where I'm from, how I got to where I am now, and the main reasons why I chose eXp Realty. Hopefully, some of those things touch you and speak to you, and hopefully, you'll look to do the same. So, a little bit about me. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I have a business background. I've been involved in starting businesses, buying businesses that were failing, turning them around with the intention to sell. So, real solid business background, and I was kind of in between businesses when I started to take a look at real estate. So I was a little bit hesitant at first because I didn't know how myself, as a new agent with no experience, would have any way to compete with established agents. So luckily, I had a friend who was a top producing agent in a well-established brokerage and kind of like guided me through it. And one thing that he told me was that, hey, as a real estate agent, you are an independent contractor. It's kind of like owning your own business. So that was really right in my wheelhouse, and I felt, I had comfort in that. So I started doing a little bit more research, and how could I do it? How could I level the playing field? How could I be competitive against people I've been doing this for a long time? In my research, I found two things for me that made me feel like it was doable. One was third-party lead generation. I know a lot of agents, they're kind of frown upon that and they don't like it much. But for me, with starting from scratch with no leads at all, I felt like with third-party lead generation, I could be active immediately. The other thing, second thing for me was CRM. So with the CRM, I did a lot of research, spent a lot of time on it, saw how much they cost and how expensive they were, and if you used properly, how you could benefit from them. So for me, having that database and the automation and the drip and the follow-up and everything that goes along with the CRM, and if it's used properly, was a big deal for me. So two major shifts, technology shifts in the market, third-party lead generation, and how I could leverage those leads with a CRM to create a successful business. That made me feel like I could completely level the playing field, and I could go up against any agents that weren't using those same techniques, that even if they were established. So I got a lot of interest from those things, and I started to look more into it. And I started to shadow my buddy who was really successful, and I really saw what it took to produce at the level he was producing. You know, I felt like I could do it. I could do it. But one thing I did notice was that he was always working. He was always working. He was always on the phone. He was, whether he's picking up his kids at daycare or if he's on vacation with his family or he's just trying to have a normal conversation with his wife, his phone was always ringing. He was constantly on the phone. And what I realized was that what we all realize once we get into the business was that he was just always chasing the next transaction. And he had to, because if he stopped, the income stopped. And so that really made me hesitant. I was like, okay, I have these technology ideas. I feel like what I can do to get started. I realize what it takes to, be successful once you're in production. But it really felt to me like I was jumping on a hamster wheel, and I was just, signing up for a job. It's like, yeah, they're saying it. You're an independent contractor. You're at home. You're having your own business, but really, it's like I felt like I was getting a job. So I was like, I don't know. I felt like I could spend my time and energy, creating wealth and income for later in life more than I could being a real estate agent. So, I asked him, like, what's your plan? It looks like if you stop, the whole thing falls apart on you. Like, what's your plan for the future? And I explained to him that with a business background, when you're looking at a business model or you're looking at creating a business plan, one thing you always have at the end that makes it whether or not, creates the whole environment, whether or not it's worth pursuing the business, is the exit strategy. So I'm going to build this business, I'm going to make it successful, and then I'll sell it. Selling it is the exit strategy, or whatever the case may be. I'm going to put management in place and run the business as long as the income keeps coming in. So you have to have some sort of exit strategy. I asked him, what is your exit strategy? What are you going to do? And he was like, well, I'm just going to make a bunch of money, and I'm going to go buy some real estate and have investment properties, and I have money coming in. And I was like, okay, great. That's an awesome exit strategy. You've been doing this for a long time. How many investment properties do you have now? And he's like, well, I don't have any. And so I was like, all right, great idea. Why haven't you implemented it? And he's like, well, David, it's like I'm doing this and I have money coming in, but life is also happening. I have kids, I have responsibilities. I have to get to the point where I can invest that money and do those things. So, for me, it sounded like a reasonable exit strategy, but I was thinking about, I was like, yeah, like life does get in the way. You really have to be committed and disciplined to, create any kind of income for the future through any kind of investment, whether you're doing a 401k or, you're buying stocks. If you don't consistently do that and leave the money in there to be able to generate that future income, it's kind of, it's a hard deal. So started kind of shying away from it. But at that point, I was already in the class. So I just completed the class. I went ahead and took the test, got past the state exam, and became a licensed agent. But I still didn't know if it was for me. I had a lot of questions that weren't answered, whether or not it was the right fit for me personally. So I was like, okay, let me just take the next step. I'll go talk to a broker, and I'll talk to different brokerages, and I'll interview and see what they have. So I talked to pretty much every major brokerage in town, and I met a lot of really cool people and a lot of really cool ideas about how they were going to support me as a new agent and their plan for what it would take for me to be successful within their model. And it sounded okay. It sounded okay, but I still had that major concern of, am I just getting a job? What am I going to do whenever I'm 60 or 65 years old? Am I going to have to keep doing 30, 40, 50 transactions a year just to maintain my lifestyle? And am I going to be physically able to do that? So, I really felt like, maybe it wasn't the right idea. Maybe it was not the right, way to spend my time and energy because, when I get to up in age, like, what am I going to have to do to survive? So that being said, I really shied away from it, and I was on social media, just like wasting time. And then I saw a post from one of my old friends, Tori Drake, and she was in real estate. And I was like, you know what? Tori will give me an honest opinion about all these different brokerages and all these things that are going on in real estate and what it takes to make it. Let me reach out to her and see if she's willing to talk to me. Reach out to her. She's like, yes, 100%. I'll tell you everything you need to know. Bring your questions, write them down, and I'll be ready to answer them all for you. So Tori and I met a couple days later, and I just, put everything on the table and asked her a million questions, and she did answer them all. And she really, helped me sort through a few things. And, what I explained to her, the struggles I was having and how I was having a hard time, picking a brokerage and deciding whether or not I was going to move forward. And she said, well, David, do you mind if I tell you a little bit about my brokerage? I was like, yeah, cool. All right, Tori, which brokerage are you with? And she said, I'm with eXp Realty. And at that point, she ran through the entire business model and told me what eXp is all about. And she completely blew my mind. I could not, it was almost like I couldn't even comprehend what she was telling me. Because everything I felt like I was missing at other brokerages, eXp had built into their business model. Particularly the exit strategy, particularly the way to not have to keep on the hamster wheel your entire life until you just physically are not able to anymore. So she really, three main things that she told me about eXp that sold me completely. Three main reasons why I chose to bring my business to eXp. First one, the cut and the cap. Every agent, no matter how good you are, how experienced you are, how long you've been at the eXp, every single agent, 80-20 split. 80-20 split. And so the other brokerages I talked to, like nobody was close to 80-20. And I heard rumors that like some agents were at like 90% or 100% and some backdoor deal or whatever, but I never, like nobody offered me 80-20 as a brand new agent. And not only that, the cap was $16,000. So 80-20 split, $16,000 cap. As soon as my 20% builds up to $16,000 and eXp got their $16,000, I go 100%. So I thought that was great. Like now I was interested. The numbers started running in my head. I'm like, man, this is like thousands of dollars a year more. So other thing she told me was that not only is the cap only $16,000, but if you're really good at what you do, you're going to be rewarded. eXp is going to give you your whole $16,000 cap back in the form of stock if you can do about another 20 transactions after you cap. So if you're really, really good, they're going to give you the whole $16,000 back. And I had a hard time even believing that that was real. So you mean to tell me if I'm good at what I do, if I can cap out, do another 20, you're going to give me the whole $16,000 back in the form of company stock? Yes. So, after the conversation with her, I went back and I called some of the other brokerages and I was like, hey, if I perform really, really well for you guys, if I produce a lot of money, are you guys willing to give me, my cap or a part of my cap back? And they all kind of just laughed at me. They're like, no, are you joking? Like, never, never. But with eXp, they're willing to do that, which brings me to the second reason why I joined eXp, the stock. They're willing to give me my $16,000 cap back in the form of stock. Well, it means they're a publicly traded company. Anybody can go and buy the stock. EXPI is a symbol. You can get it on NASDAQ. Anybody can buy it. But there's ways where I can get the stock as an eXp agent that other people can. So one of the ways that I mentioned, the Icon program, where if you hit about 20 transactions after you cap, they're going to give you that $16,000 back in stock. Another way, which is a lot easier, is for your first transaction. Your first transaction, every single year, they're going to give you $200 in stock. Just say, hey, thanks for being with eXp. We appreciate you being here. Here's your first transaction of the year. Here's $200 in stock. Awesome. Another way you can get stock, a third way, is if you cap out. If you cap out, eXp is going to give you $400 in eXp stock just for capping out. So I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, 80-20 split, $16,000 cap. And they're going to give me stock for doing things that I would be doing at other brokerages where I'm not being compensated at all. Just for doing my first transaction of the year, they're going to give me stock. Just for capping out, they're going to give me stock. It's like, man, when you put this stock on top of that 80-20 split, it sounds even more intriguing. So then she told me there's other ways you can stock. Every transaction I do, I can take 5% of my commission and I can buy eXp stock at a 10% discount. And then there's a fifth way you can get stock. And this was really interesting to me. And this is what really got me thinking. She told me that if I bring another agent, whether it's a new agent, a licensed agent that's at another brokerage, or anybody that I bring on as a licensed agent to eXp, eXp is going to give me $400 in stock when they do their first transaction. I was like, oh man, awesome. So if I just bring agents in and I show them the opportunity of eXp and they like the same opportunity just like I did, and they decide to bring their business to eXp, eXp is going to give me $400 in stock just for doing that? Tori said, yes, 100%. But that's not it. They're also going to give you more than that. And that brings us to the third reason why I joined eXp. So she told me not only will they give me stock when these people do their first transaction, but they'll also give me 3.5% of the commission on every transaction that they do while they're eXp before they cap. So I get 3.5% of every transaction they do until they cap out and eXp is no longer generating money off of them. So I started doing the math and I was like, okay, well, what is that about? And Tori told me, hey, it's about $2,800. So every agent I bring on, they're going to give me stock when they do their first transaction. And if they cap out, I get $2,800 for forever, as long as they're with eXp. So I was like, man, that is awesome. And I started thinking, I was like, man, the hamster wheel, and how am I going to retire? And am I going to have to be in production when I'm 65 years old? And it all started coming together for me. And she's like, but wait, David, this is the cool part. And this is the genius of the entire business model. She said, not only do you get paid if you bring an agent onto eXp, but if that person brings an agent onto eXp, you'll get compensated for that person too. I was like, no way. So if I bring somebody on, they're going to give me money. If they bring somebody on, I'm going to get money for the person that they brought on. Even if I don't know them, even if they're in South Carolina or Washington, D.C. or somewhere else. And she's like, yes. That's an agent that you'll get compensated on too. But she was like, but this is the thing that's really cool about it. And this is the genius of the business model. Not only will you get compensated on the agent that your agent brought in, but they're going to give you more for that second agent than they will for the agent you brought on. So I can make $2,800 a year off of an agent that I bring on. but an agent that they bring on, I can get $3,200 a year. So now for me, being established with eXp and being part of the real estate industry, I've come to realize the genius of that. So a lot of people talk about eXp and they're like, there's no connectivity, they're virtual, if you need help, there's no one out there. There's a lot of things that are said about eXp. Exact opposite. And a lot of it has to do with this part of the business model. And in actuality, there's hyper connectivity in eXp, and we leverage technology to have that connectivity. And there's a very strong community and culture within the industry, within eXp. And the big reason why is that second tier agent. The fact that I get compensated more for an agent that my agent brought on makes it to where that agent for me financially is more important to me than the agent I brought on. So I'm there to support any agent that comes on with me, but if they bring on an agent, I'm there to also support that person. So if I have an agent I might not even know, they say they're like in Florida and they're on my second line, I'm like, man, I'm going to make $3,200 a year for this person. Then these people I brought on, I'm going to make $2,800. So I'm calling Florida. I'm like, hey, is there anything I can do? Do you need help? Do you need training? Do you need education? Do you need help with your deals? Are you having any struggles? Is there anything I can help you with? How are your listings going? How is it going with your buyers? Is there anything I can do to provide support to you? Because they're important to me, just as important as the people I brought on. And so that's where the connectivity within eXp is. It creates an environment where everybody's a team, everybody's there to support. And it's a lot different than what you see in other places because, in a lot of other places, there's a lot of competition for the business. But the way that the business model is set up here, there's competition, but there's also a lot of support. Because ultimately, if I can bring on an agent and those people can bring on agents, and I can make those agents more successful than me, I benefit from it, which is a crazy concept to think of. And it just creates an environment of support and giving and caring and team. And so any agent that I can help be successful benefits me. And so what Tori told me was, not only do I get paid on the agent I bring in, I also get paid on the agent they bring in, also get paid on agents that person brings in, and 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 I get paid on agents that person brings in. So I get paid 7 levels deep. So anybody that comes on the eXp within 7 levels of me is part of my revenue share. And eXp will compensate me and thank me for starting that and building the eXp from the bottom up. We don't have a lot of things that other brokerages have. We don't have brick and mortar building. We don't have all that overhead. We don't have cleaning crews. We don't have IT people. We don't have, we don't have to buy toilet paper. We don't have to pay the light bill. We don't have expensive rents in the middle of big cities. So what we do have is virtual office. So all that money eXp saves, eXp basically said, hey, we're going to take all that money and we're going to make an agent-friendly environment and we're going to compensate these agents through stock options and through revenue share to build this brokerage. And it works. And it works. So that's why I'm here. That's why I chose eXp. 80-20 split, $16,000 cap, the Icon program, the stock, and the revenue share. All those things I was really concerned about, eXp really put it all together for me. How to get started, what to do when I'm in production, and the biggest thing for me, the exit strategy, the revenue share and the stock options create a built-in retirement for me. And I really did not find that anywhere else in the industry. So for those reasons, I'm here at eXp and I'm all in and I love my brokerage. If you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to have a conversation with me, if you'd like to discuss eXp, click on the button below and set up a time to talk with me. And I'd love to talk real estate with you. I'd love to talk about eXp. Hope to talk to you soon.